Facebook friends, Marianne here, and you are seeing me after a big sweaty workout thanks to Adam Galt, my trainer, and after an all-nighter, no makeup. Or if it's there, it's smudged. Not artistically, it just is. But I just felt like I need to take a moment to reach out to many of you because I know that we're all getting this boom, 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 so many different things coming at us super fast, super fast, super fast. And it's like you're trying to deflect a hurricane. That's what they make you feel. So it's like if I took my I took my ponytail and racked it all over the place. That's the way it seems like the news go rack, rack. And see how it's hitting me in the face? That's what they want us to be doing with ourselves. They want us hitting ourselves in the face with all sorts of emotions and craziness. And you know what? It is hard trying to be the compassionate person, the person who cares and gives a damn and doesn't get callous, and yet also protect our psychological well-being. And it is possible. So I was thinking about this because I was taking off my shoes that I was working out in today. And, when I came up here to start doing this, it occurred to me that I should point out how women, yes, we can hike with the best of them, but this is usually my uniform. And the interesting thing about a stiletto? A stiletto actually, of course, means dagger. It's like, and if you ever try and wear one of these things like I do into the airport, they consider it a weapon. And that really is how women have been for ages. We gotta be pretty, we gotta be prissy, we gotta everything just so, and make sure that we take up a little space. As I was sharing with a while ago, it was Morella Sulu's thing about how men, they get all up in here and they just take up the space and like, hey, how you doing? Let me see how much space. And women are, make yourself small. Make sure you're ladylike. And yet, modern women, we've learned we can be ladylike and still take up our space and does not give up our femininity. And that is really at the essence of what we're fighting in our country right now, because there are a lot of people that would love for women to just go back to the 1950s. And there are women that would like us to go back to the 1950s. And the reason why they would like that is because they felt secure in their power, because there's a kind of power that comes from being next to the one in charge, being in the right hand of the leader. And throughout history, a lot of women got their power from that. And so they voted for MAGA and Trump because they're protecting the perceived power of support their husbands. But younger women are aware that we can absolutely passionately support our husbands and support ourselves. It's not an either or. It's not a zero-sum game. In fact, if you're dancing with the tango, it's actually a collaborative process. And that's where a healthy society can aim to go. And I know many of you are sick and tired of me giving this example, but it's an important one. And that is, again, about what historically happened here in Dallas, Texas. And that was when MLK and Malcolm X got together and they meet in Joppy, and they met in secret so that MLK would be the middle road and Malcolm X would pretend to be as extreme as possible so that he seemed to be so far over here so that everyone went, okay, well, this is the compromise. Because without that contrast, what had been the compromise of desegregation would have seemed extreme. And that is exactly what's happening right now. So we're getting boom, 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 all these things coming at you, boom, 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 trying to make you think about this and that and this and that and this and that, and you can't even focus because it all seems so evil and overwhelming, like a big wave. And the reality is, if they're trying to make you think over here something crazy, like what we saw with the Ukraine leader being insulted, and we're all like, oh, how embarrassing, how horrific. And at that moment in time was when they were trying to pass the SAVE Act. And the SAVE Act was where it said that a woman has to basically have her current legal name has to be the exact same as the name of when she was born. And without that, they can't vote. Now, I know there are a number of women that are like, oh, well, they don't really mean that. This is just Democrats trying to twist things around. I'd encourage you to look up Project 2025 with Vice President J.D. Vance, who wrote the introduction to it, and read what is intended. I'd encourage you to look up Steve Bannon and see what they did in Hungary, Viktor Orban, and how proud that he announced that they successfully rolled back women's rights in the 1960s. And when I say they, that was during Trump's first administration when they launched the Make Families Great Again campaign. And they called it a stunning success that they wanted to continue. And so now we as women are here looking at the fact that the Democrats just recently tried to say, okay, make an exception for married women, so that they don't have to. I mean, what if you're an 85-year-old woman, you don't know how to fill something online, and you've had your husband's married name forever, you don't even know where your birth certificate is. I guess you don't get to vote. And that's not okay. And as women, we have a choice right now, America. We have a choice as to whether we just take this lying down or we remember what we are made of. That we can be beautiful and dangerous. And what that means is that we have a mind. It doesn't take great physical strength. It takes mental strength. It takes fortitude. It takes passion. It takes believing that you are worth it. And that you're not willing to settle for less than what your mother and your grandmother and your great-grandmother and your aunts and your fought so hard for us to have. We owe it to all the other young girls who are inheriting the world we're going to leave them to make sure they do not have less human rights and civil rights than we do. Because if we're not, don't do that. What kind of ancestors are we? We're not worth all the sacrifices that were made for us. So, yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, there's so much stuff happening. But as I often tell people, it's like basketball. Fake it, fake it, fake it here, and then slide something over here. So when you see all this noise over here, look at what else is happening. And what I urge everybody to do also, and I keep telling everybody this, I know this makes me sound like a sociopath, but believe me, very real self-serving sociopaths right now are looking at all this chaos and going, how can I find something to benefit me? Well, I know those who follow me go for compassionate hearts, care about this world, are actively doing things to help the homeless, the hungry, the disenfranchised, those who don't have voices in the world. They're including not just two-legged, but the four-legged, the finned, and the winged, and the rooted. I know all of you are doing amazing things, and I want you to be asking yourself right now, what in all this chaos, because I know chaos seems all nuts and overwhelming, but take a pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, how can you take the best advantage of this chaos? Because within chaos is opportunity. And believe me, people who are self-serving are only looking out for themselves right now, and they're going to find opportunity. But what I want is I want you, those who have compassionate hearts and who believe empathy is one of the most important things for a human being to have, the ability to see out of someone else's eyes, even if they're completely different thinking than your own. If you have that, then please, please, please take a pause and ask for you in your world right now, what would help you gain power? What would help you gain influence? What would help you get ahead? Because if you can get ahead, that means somebody of compassion and empathy and a sense of social, moral integrity will be in a position of power. And right now, all of our actions are going to dictate what kind of world we're all going to inherit, what we're going to be leaving for the next generation, but also in our own lifetime. Believe me, whatever happens and is left over our democracy after Trump's regime is done, and yes, I am calling it a regime, because when you're telling an entire race of people that they are dirtying the blood of America, hello, I think it's pretty fair for any brown person to call this a regime. But point being, whatever is decimated and remains after this horrific stuff that they're doing with our Constitution, after their ability to just take people and throw them down in Salvador without due process of law. And now he's threatening to do this with citizens. If we're going to be able to rebuild and protect the most sacred aspects of our society, it begins in here and it begins in here. And is activated with here. And we need to be able to speak it and act upon it into being. And that means, yes, cry, scream, cuss, bang on your punching bag. But at the end of the day, take some of that energy and say, what can you do in this cyclone to direct it, I like to call it social aikido, direct this crazy energy in a direction that is going to benefit you and empower you to be a more powerful actor in this world. Because believe me, all of us are going to need you to be as powerful as possible. So, yes, mourn, get frustrated, march, scream, act, but also be asking in your world. I don't care if you are a shopkeeper, a baker, a lawyer, a CEO, I don't care what you are. What within your sphere of influence can you do in all this chaos? Because believe me, chaos gives so much opportunity. My family created 7-Eleven out of the chaos of the Depression that came right on the heels of Nazi Germany and all that craziness. Believe me, my dad was going down and hunting for, shooting ducks in Turtle Creek so that the family could eat. It was much worse than it is now. People were still lynching. My family stood for, desegregation. And during that time of desegregation, for the fight for it, people were lighting crosses in the front yard. Threats were made to the family. And they built 7-Eleven in the middle of all that insanity. So believe me, they saw much worse than a lot of us are seeing right now. And if they could build an empire, so can you. I don't mean it has to be a multi-million-dollar international corporation, but you can begin working with friends, collaborating with people. You know how someone can? With pennies. They used pennies and dimes, collected them in jars to buy what was then a part of Southland Energy. They bought a little Southland Ice and they built it into 7-Eleven. You, wherever you are, you can collect things, you can combine, you can collaborate with loved ones and strategically create something in this moment because it's going to be needed. And why not you? And if you have the ability to really step back and go, what are the puzzle pieces that life is handing me right now amidst all this chaos? What can I create? And you keep your eye on that. No matter how insane it is, what can you generate in yourself? You will come out of this in a position of power. And I want that for you because the more of us who have compassion and empathy and care about our fellow human beings on this planet, who have positions of influence and power, the more we can protect our democracy. And the more we can protect our democracy, the more we can be accountable to the larger group of humanity in the world. I was speaking with a friend of mine, Emmanuel Jean, and he was saying that, with the Sudanese refugees, some of you know we got 160 families out of the war zone Sudan to safety of South Sudan, but a lot of them end up going to different places. And right now there are a lot in Ethiopia. And he was saying they're literally talking about how there are people in Ethiopia going, okay, we accept that many of us are going to die before the end of this year because USA aid got cut off. Well, let's try and start planting right now. Let's start growing something right now so that some of us don't have to die and we can have hope because hope is so important. But they understand you got to work for hope. You got to plant seeds in the dirt for hope. I'm very grateful that the Mimnazine Institute's UK chapter is participating in that and helping Emmanuel Jean to create places for these farmers. They're going to be doing about 45,000 acres of land over there in Ethiopia. But the reason why I'm sharing that is if those people who have every single thing ripped away from them are saying, we can create our own hope, then so can we. In this country, you can get clean water. We have no excuse not to generate our own hope. And that is what I want to urge all of you. Do not get so mired, because that's where they want your mind to be. Do not get so mired in all of the horrendous attacks on our democracy that you forget what really makes it. You ever heard that thing as a kid? Here's the church, here's the steeple, open the door, here's all the people. You know why it's all the people? Because the church is made of people. The walls don't matter. Similarly, in a democracy, the Constitution's a piece of paper. What makes it sacred is our mentality, is our agreement that laws are sacred. That means people with completely separate opinions, political idealisms, spiritual idealisms, religious beliefs, different ethnicities, different cultures agree that this is sacred. And we need to remember that, America. We need to remember that our democracy was established by our founding fathers, who said that this is basically a sacred charge. That all of our descendants, which mean us, it is incumbent upon all of us to protect it, to grow it, to understand that democracy is evolving. Because they knew, they were slave owners, they knew what they were doing was wrong. They denied their wives the right to vote. And now today, I think about the letters. If any of you are nerds like me, you can Google it. The wives of Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they wrote, and they weren't happy. Have we not sacrificed beside you? Have we not fought beside you? Should we not also be able to vote? It took a long time for women to get to vote. My grandmother lived in a time when women couldn't vote. Abby Holiday, those of you that drive down Northwest Highway, she lived in a time when women couldn't have, ownership of property. And if you look at Project 2025, they want to undo it, and they want to go all the way back to women can't own property, to when our husbands take over our bank accounts. This is what they lined up to do in Hungary, and they did it, and Steve Bannon was in charge of that. And Steve Bannon worked with the Heritage Foundation to create Project 2025 based on the success of Hungary. So don't be ignorant, but please, 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 if you're a man of conscience and you respect your female loved ones, then stand with us. If you're a white person and you respect your friends of color, then stand with us. If you are a straight person and you respect your LGBT friends, then stand with us. And I, as a brown-skinned, female, bisexual woman, thank you for seeing true humanity, for recognizing that someone like me can contribute to this world and to our country in a way that matters, in a way that's positive.